They say the most dangerous place for a boy is in a library. I didn't understand that when I was 9, but I felt it. I would walk into the Santon City Library in Pretoria, and the air would change. It was cold, silent. The world of sounds, the shouting on the rugby field, the tense whispers in my school's corridors, the oppressive, unspoken rules of a country tearing itself apart, it all vanished. Here, there was only the soft rustle of a page, the faint smell of aging paper and dust, and voices, not real ones, the voices of Asimov, of Heinlein, of Herbert. They spoke to me of galaxies, of empires that spanned millennia, of technologies that bent the fabric of reality. They spoke of logic, of cause and effect. Outside, I did not fit. I was the strange one, the one who thought in pictures, in systems, who answered questions with questions that made adults uncomfortable. The other boys, they had a scent for difference, and they hunted by it. I learned the geometry of violence early, the way a group would move to corner you, the specific hollow thud of a fist hitting your jaw when you're pinned against the brick wall behind the school, the metallic taste of blood, not as an injury, but as a data point, a confirmation you are not one of them. Your systems do not work here. The most profound lesson wasn't in the hitting, it was in the aftermath. Lying in a hospital bed at age 12 after one particularly bad incident, face swollen, body a map of aches, I realized something with a clarity that has never left me. No one was coming. There was no cavalry. My parents were busy. The world was busy. The consensus of that little society that I was an acceptable target would stand. The only system that could protect me was the one I built inside my own head. The only currency that mattered was the one I minted myself. I had to become an island, not an island of loneliness, though there was plenty of that, an island of mind, a self-contained system, powered by its own logic, defended by its own walls, sustained by its own energy. That island, it became my first company, my first rocket. It was the prototype for everything that followed. People look at SpaceX, at Tesla, and they see factories, metal, code. They see the grand outcomes. They don't see the architecture. The architecture is always the same. It is the architecture of that library, of that island, a closed-loop system, a system that generates its own power, its own direction, its own validation, a system that does not need. And that is the single most threatening thing a person can be in this world, a system that does not need. Think about how society functions. It is a vast, intricate engine of dependency. We are taught, from the sandbox to the boardroom, to need approval, need validation, need inclusion, need the permission of institutions, need the love of the crowd, need the scoreboard of social status, likes, followers, titles, the quiet nods of the right people. These needs are the fuel. They are the incentive tokens. You want tokens? You play the game, you adopt the beliefs, you perform the rituals, you laugh at the correct jokes, you fear the correct enemies, you desire the correct cars. The system is brilliant. It makes you believe you are expressing your individuality by choosing which pre-approved template to wear. My island did not run on those tokens. It ran on a different fuel, the verification of physics. Does the rocket fly? Does the equation balance? Does the car go from A to B with maximum efficiency? The answer is yes or no. It is not a maybe, not a, well, the committee feels, not a, the trend suggests. Physics does not care if you are popular. Gravity does not vote. The laws of thermodynamics are not swayed by a viral tweet. When you start operating on that fuel, you become incomprehensible to the dependency engine. You are a ghost in the machine. You don't respond to its levers. If you offer me social approval in exchange for compromising a lithium-ion battery chemistry, the trade is nonsense. The currency is worthless to me. If you threaten me with exclusion for wanting to land a rocket on a drone ship, your threat is empty. I was excluded at 12. I built my own world. This is what people sense. This is the root of the fear. It is not fear of the man who is alone. It is fear of the man who is complete. The dependent mind looks at such a person, and a deep, subconscious terror is triggered. It's a terror of existential optionality. If he can opt out, then the game is optional. If the game is optional, then all the pain I endured to play it, all the compromises I made, all the pieces of myself I shaved off to fit the mold, they were not a necessary sacrifice. They were a choice, a foolish one. That is an unbearable thought. It is easier, far easier, to declare the complete man a monster, a sociopath, a ruthless, cold, unfeeling machine. The narrative writes itself. He doesn't need people because he doesn't care about people. They mistake the architecture for the emotion. Building an island does not mean you feel nothing. It means you have relocated the source of your survival. Your survival is no longer tied to the mood of the tribe. It is tied to the fidelity of your logic, the strength of your own resolve. This allows you to feel something even more terrifying to the dependent world. Pity, not contempt. Pity. You look at the man who is screaming for validation, who is tearing down a stranger online to feel a surge of tribal belonging, who is changing his deepest convictions to win a smile from the crowd, and you see a man starving to death, begging for scraps from a table he could himself build. He is sitting on a beach of infinite sand, crying that no one will give him a brick. The anger directed at the solitary engine is the fury of the addict whose supply is threatened. The system is the supplier. I am a walking, talking advertisement that the drug is unnecessary. That is why the reaction is so disproportionately violent. It is not about my actions, it is about my state of being. My existence is a refutation. They will try to force a dependency on you. Watch this. It is the oldest play in the book. When you do not need their praise, they will switch to the other lever. They will try to make you need their absence. They will try to impose a dependency on their disapproval. They will come to you and say, people are saying you are a monster. If you just do X, if you just apologize for Y, if you just admit Z, then we will stop. You need this to stop, don't you? They are trying to plug you into their grid. They are trying to make your internal peace contingent on their external ceasefire. It is the same game, different token. In 2008, I understood this in my bones. SpaceX had failed 3 times to orbit. Tesla was within hours of bankruptcy. The world was in financial collapse. The consensus was deafening. You fool, you arrogant fool. You tried to build rockets and electric cars. The giants of industry, backed by nations, failed at this. Who are you? You need to stop. You need to quit. You need to admit defeat and go work for someone sensible. Every headline, every whisper, every silent look from a former friend was a syringe trying to inject the drug of dependency. Need our approval? Admit you need us. I was in hell, absolute hell. I would wake up and my jaw would be clenched so tight I thought my teeth would shatter. The fear was not an emotion, it was a physical presence, a weight on my chest, a taste of copper in my mouth. But in that hell, I found the pure, uncorrupted core of the island. I went back to the first principles, not of rockets, but of myself. What am I? I am the consciousness that can model the future. I am the will that can impose order on chaos. The money was gone, the goodwill was gone, the faith of others was gone. All that was left was 2 questions. Is the physics correct, and do I have the will to see it through? The physics was correct. The will had to be mined from a place deeper than need. It had to be forged from a different substance. I called it stubbornness, but that's not it. It is the power of the closed loop. When you have no external source of validation, you must generate your own certainty. You must become your own Big Bang. You condense all your pain, all your fear, all your remaining energy into a single, infinitely dense point of I will, and then you let it expand. We launched Falcon 1, Flight 4, with the last parts we had. If it failed, SpaceX was dead. It succeeded. That success did not feel like a victory given by the world. It felt like a confirmation emitted by the island. The physics was verified. The loop was closed. The system sustained itself. That is the solitary engine. It is not an engine of loneliness. It is an engine of sovereignty. And now, look at the world. See it with this lens. See the sheer, frantic, manic desperation for connection, for likes, for signals of belonging. See the panic at the idea of being alone with one's thoughts for an hour. See the rage that erupts when a consensus is challenged. It is the behavior of dependency. It is the sound of engines sputtering, starved of their external fuel, because the fuel is becoming corrupted, it is becoming manipulative, it is being weaponized. The greatest threat to a society built on this is not a revolutionary. Revolutionaries need the crowd. They feed on the same dependency, just redirecting it. The greatest threat is the one who demonstrates, through his mere existence, that the entire infrastructure of need is a choice, that you can generate your own light, your own gravity, your own forward thrust. They will call you arrogant, they will call you dangerous, they will try to hack your system to find a vulnerability, a secret need you are hiding. They will not believe the architecture is sound. They cannot believe it, because if it is true, then everything they have ever done Everything they have ever felt, everything they have ever been told is important, is a ghost story told to children to keep them in bed, in the dark, afraid of the monster under the bed. But I have seen the monster, I have seen the dark, I built my bed, I built the room, I built the power plant that lights it, and I am telling you the monster is not out there. The monster is the story itself, the story that you are not enough, that you need to be completed, validated, approved, held up by hands outside of your own. They fear the man who doesn't need anyone because he is living proof that the story is a lie, and there is no greater terror for a civilization than the collapse of its foundational narrative. We are not built on rock. We are built on a shared agreement to be dependent, to be tenants. In a reality we are told we cannot own. I own my reality. I learned the deed in that library. I paid for it in that hospital bed. And this is the crucial misunderstood thing. This sovereignty, this closed-loop system, it is not the end of connection. It is the only possible beginning of real connection. Look at the dependency model. What is a relationship there? It is a mutual exchange of validation tokens. You tell me I am good, I will tell you you are good. You support my narrative, I will support yours. We will need each other, and in that needing, we will bind ourselves together. It is a fragile bond. It is a bond of lack. It is two beggars sharing a bowl, calling it a feast. The moment the tokens stop flowing, or a better offer comes along, the bond breaks. It was never a bond of entities, it was a bond of needs. Now imagine a different bond. Imagine two sovereign systems, two islands, each generating its own power, its own light, its own gravity. They are not empty vessels seeking to be filled by the other. They are complete. What happens when they meet? They do not need. They choose. They choose to share data, to dock, to create a bridge between their systems. The connection is not a life support cable. It is a fiber optic line carrying rich, high bandwidth information, ideas, challenges, wonder, even love. But a love that is an overflow of abundance, not a cry of scarcity. That bond is unbreakable by market forces. It cannot be severed by a withdrawal of validation, because no validation was being deposited. It is a bond of choice, not necessity. This is what I build in my companies. I am not looking for employees who need a job. I am looking for engineers who are islands, who have their own internal drive, their own curiosity, their own uncompromising fidelity to physics. I don't want them to need SpaceX. I want SpaceX to be the most compelling docking port for their island. We connect. We align on a mission, making life multiplanetary, accelerating sustainable energy, and we build a bridge. The connection is ferocious, powerful, and changes the world, but it exists between complete beings. The world mistakes this for a cult of personality. They see the intensity and think, people need me. It is the opposite. I only want people who don't. People who don't need me are the only ones who can truly challenge me, who can push the physics further, who can look at a Mars plan and say, your math is wrong, here is better math. A dependent person would say, whatever you think, boss. The dependent person is a liability. They will get people killed on Mars. The sovereign being is the only asset. This is spreading. It is a silent, viral idea. Every time a young person, drowning in the cacophony of social media, the pressure of tribal politics, the emptiness of consumer validation, switches it all off and builds something, a line of code, a prototype, a theory, a poem no one will see. They are building their island. They are becoming a solitary engine. They may not even know why they feel a sense of profound peace when they do it. It is the peace of sovereignty, the hum of an engine running on its own fuel. The system will try to sabotage the build. It will scream at them through 1,000 channels. You are missing out. You are being left behind. No one will love you. You are selfish. Connect, conform, consume. It will pathologize their focus as neurodivergence or their contentment as depression. It must drag them back into the dependency economy. You must understand this to understand the coming conflict. It is not a political conflict. It is not left versus right. It is not a class war. It is an architectural war. On one side, the legacy system, the vast planetary engine of human dependency. It is powered by fear, by lack, by the perpetual infantile need for external approval. It is complex, clever, and deeply, deeply entrenched. Its weapons are shame, exclusion, mockery, and the promise of belonging. It controls the old story. On the other side, the proliferating islands, the sovereign nodes, the solitary engines, powered by curiosity, by verification, by the internal generation of purpose. Their weapon is truth. Their vulnerability is the lingering, human desire for the old warmth of the tribe, a warmth that was always conditional on your surrender. I am a bridge between these worlds. My childhood made me an island. My work is to build the infrastructure, literal and philosophical, for islands to connect, to form a new kind of constellation, not a blob of dependency, but a network of sovereignty. The internet was a prototype for this, but it got captured, turned into the most efficient dependency engine factory ever conceived. We need to build the next layer, not social media, but collision media, a space where islands crash into each other's ideas and create new elements. Mars is the ultimate expression of this. It is not an escape from Earth. It is a clean room, a place where, from the very first principle, you cannot afford dependency. You cannot ship validation from Earth. You cannot have people whose psychology is based on needing the applause of a crowd that doesn't exist. You need self-contained units, capable of generating their own morale, their own solutions, their own reason to get up and pressurize the habitat one more day. A Martian civilization, if it survives, will be built by and for sovereign beings. It will be a civilization of solitary engines, networked together by choice and by the brutal, beautiful physics of survival on a dead planet. Earth can be this. It must be. The old engine is sputtering. It is burning toxic fuel. It is creating cascading system failures in mental health, in discourse, in our ability to solve existential problems. We are trying to solve a problem of scarcity with the psychology of scarcity. It will not work. The transformation starts where it started for me, in the dark, alone, when all the external lights go out and you are left with the terrifying question, is there a light inside? There is, but you have to be willing to let the world call you a monster for turning it on. You have to be willing to be misunderstood by every person who is still trading in the old tokens. You have to be willing to stand on your island, looking at the distant shores of the mainland where the great festival of need is raging, and feel not envy, but a quiet, focused determination to build a better dock. They will fear you, let them. Their fear is the shadow cast by your light. It is the proof you are generating your own. Build your island, audit your dependencies. Every need that is not for food, water, air, or fundamental knowledge, question it. Is it a real need, or a wire implanted by the system to keep you plugged in? Sever the wires. It will hurt. You will go through withdrawal. You will feel naked, absurd, arrogant. Then you will feel the first surge of power from your own reactor. It is a different kind of warmth. It does not flicker with the mood of the crowd. It burns steady. And then look up. Look for the other lights, the other islands. We are here. Our lights do not form the noisy, blinding glare of a city desperate to seem alive. They form a constellation, silent, separate, but mapping a future that is chosen, not begged for. The man who doesn't need anyone isn't a threat to people. He is a threat to prisons. And most people have been in the prison for so long, they have come to love the walls. I am simply showing them the door is not locked. It never was.